As a leader, we focus so much on giving feedback to others, but are you soliciting feedback for yourself? We'll talk about it today and how important it is, especially as we go up that career ladder. Welcome to How to Get What You Want. This podcast is for driven women ready to claim their goals and navigate their careers with clarity and confidence. Join me as we explore real stories, tools, and strategies to help you steer your career exactly where you want to go. Let's get started on helping you get what you want. Hi, friends. Welcome. I'm so glad that you made the choice to be here today because today we're going to turn the table on feedback. And I want you to really think about how are you getting feedback about you? As we go through an organization and when we think about leadership, we often think about feedback to our team, and that's great. We should be very intentional about that. We should do it on a regular basis. I talked about that in the last episodes. If you missed that, make sure you tune in and get the tips around how to give it. But it's just as important to receive it. When we go up in an organization, our self-awareness goes down. A lot of that has to do with us getting feedback. We don't get as much feedback. And when we are in a power position, whether it's hierarchical, whether we have influence because we have built trusted relationships, sometimes we close down the funnel of feedback because we are defensive or we don't take it or we don't implement it. And people learn that it's not worth it. You've probably all experienced that. When you've given feedback to a leader that's more senior and you know they won't do anything about it, why waste your breath? I know people that are not coachable, and it just breaks my heart. I can just tell that from an executive coach perspective, no matter what I say, they're going to have an answer to why I'm wrong, my perspective. And so when I think about feedback and I think about executives, it's essential that we understand that. And I'm in a unique position because I work with the senior leadership and they quote unquote pay me to tell them the true truth. And I can see, especially when I work within organizations, how they sometimes don't illustrate that they're open. What comes to mind is I was doing a strategy workshop last week for a few days with a senior leader. And we told the team to think outside the box. And if you could imagine a new environment where all of the infrastructure of what we built was all new, what would you do? And there was an idea that was so out there that the leader was like almost defensive to it. He stood up in front of the whole room and said, "All right, tell me more." But he framed it in a way that kind of shut down everybody in the room. He said, "That's a great idea, but I want to tell you, I've thought about this for a really long time. And I've thought about it from a lot of different angles. And just so you know, good luck to you of giving me the ideas because I've already solved for this." And when he was done, that end of that day, I pulled him aside and said, "Do you know that you were leveraging your authority to shut people down? Because you were saying, instead of I welcome this, he was saying, I already have figured all this out. So good luck. Let me hear all your ideas," to a room of people that were just imagining. So he had changed his context. He didn't mean to. He said, "Oh my gosh, I wanted to know what are their ideas." And I had forgotten that we had told them to imagine. So it's like all this context switching that's going on in conversations. And you have to really think about, how do I get feedback about me? So I have some ideas for you. I like to think about feedback as data. This really helped me that our blind spots are unavailable to us. It's like the back of my head. I know it's there. I can feel it. I can tell what it might look like. And I've seen it in pictures, but it is impossible to get behind myself and see the back of my head in first person. That's what feedback is. We do not have the ability to stand outside of ourselves and understand what it's like to experience us. We need that data. We need that feedback. And as leaders, there's a lot of different places that we can get it from, and we need to be proactive and solicit it. So I want to challenge you today to really think about, who can you get feedback from? Who can you ask for feedback from? And if you want accolades, ask for something in the moment, like leaving a meeting that you've led and say, how did I do? And somebody's going to very likely go, "You did great," because you haven't given them data to look at. If you really want to sharpen the edges around how you present or how you give feedback or how you support one another, ask people to give you feedback specifically on that. So for example, you might ask somebody, "I've been working on my filler words and I'm trying really hard not to say them. Can you listen to me while I'm presenting today and give me some feedback on how I'm doing?" Or when we go into this meeting, "I want to make sure that my points land. Can you help me by listening to what I'm saying and help refine the way I'm asking the questions?" When you give people that data, that you give them something to look for. And when you ask that of people that are not just your boss, your colleagues that are right next to you, when you do it across the organization, not only are you getting a richer view of yourself, but you're also showing them and you're signaling, "I care about development. I want to know." The other way to get feedback is pay attention to what meetings you get invited to, whether people ask your advice on things. Look at what questions people ask you. Be aware of kind of the quote unquote nonverbals of feedback. What is it like to live outside of you? Are you getting people? Do they feel welcome to come to you? So it's direct feedback and indirect feedback about what it's like to experience you. The second tip I want you to think about is, especially if you get unsolicited feedback or feedback from somebody that you don't think has the right optics to give you that feedback or at the right level, or you don't have a trusted relationship, that can trigger us. And the last thing you want to do is get defensive, especially as a leader where people are watching you. You want to make sure that you show others how to be a good steward of accepting feedback. So what you want to do is be able to identify, okay, this is a high stakes moment for me. I can tell I'm getting triggered by the fact that this person is coming to me, and have appreciation for their feedback, and then write it down verbatim. When you go away, write it down. Before you leave them, say, "I need some time to think about this. I may come back to you with questions," but when you know that you're triggered, ask for some space to get some perspective. I love the idea of extending the distance between cause and response is important so that you accept it in the right way. I love that idea of that. So whenever you feel triggered by feedback, ask for time to think about it and permission to come back again. And then write it down verbatim, like I said, and read it. The words, when I say verbatim, use their words. We often get revisionist history when we have feedback because we want to understand it. So if you can write it down right away, then you can see it. The other thing that does is it gives you the opportunity to view it in a month, in 2 months, in a year, and you might get a different lens on that same feedback. Being a collector of feedback is so, so powerful. And then how are you going to implement it? You have to decide, is this feedback helpful? You can get different perspectives from other people. And that's a great lens to take, is say, "Hey, I got this feedback from this person. What do you think? How do you think I should look at it?" Getting a different lens from somebody else can help you see it from different perspectives. It can help you understand the politics that might have been infused about this person coming to you. It's an art, not a science. You don't have to listen to every word that people say. You have to give it the context that it deserves. You don't ignore it, but you understand that it might not be as black and white as it first appears. So how are you going to take that? And then debrief with somebody. Sometimes when feedback comes from a senior person, it's really important politically for you to show them that not only did you hear them, but that you put it into practice. So you might want to put together a strategy plan around changing that perspective of you, because feedback is also the brand that that person knows of you. And that might not be the brand you want it to be. And yes, their feedback might be inaccurate. It could be way off. It could be based on one occasion that they happened to see or they heard about third person, but that's still their perspective. And it might be really important for you politically to readjust that perspective of that person. So circling back with them, How do you see it? Even going to maybe your boss and saying, it's really interesting. The CEO gave me this feedback. Can you help when I'm not in the room to help adjust that? Can that person say, oh, it's really funny. I know that you think that Susie isn't on all the calls with our clients, but I just saw that she was. It's helping them tell a story to shift their perspective of you. And it's important to know the brand that people have. And that's how you can understand what it's like to live outside of you and what you need to adjust around that. So think about getting feedback from a lot of different places, understanding when you're triggered and writing down verbatim what people said, getting perspective from people you trust outside the organization or within the organization that aren't as close to you. And then what are you going to do with it? What are you going to adjust for you? But what do you need to adjust to make sure that it's seen again by that person that holds influence in your organization and is important to you to make that shift? Feedback is a two-way street. Thanks for the Feedback is the book that I always talk about as being an essential for every executive, every leader, everybody in an organization to get better at receiving and giving feedback. So thinking about how much are you getting? How do you get it more? I work with people to really put together a feedback plan, a strategy on a lot of different ways that you can receive it and doing it on a regular basis. It's such a healthy way for leaders to understand that perspective of them. And it also helps their people see how to solicit feedback from a lot of different places. And it makes them have a healthier relationship with that feedback that they get from all across the organization. Don't do it alone. And figure out how do you get better and develop all the time by pouring into yourself in these ways. I'm glad you made the decision to be here today. I appreciate you. If you want to get my newsletter, go to negotiationlove.com and sign up there. I'd love for you to be a part of the community because it's important to me that people understand that negotiation is more than a skill. It's a mindset. It makes us better leaders. It makes us better humans, and it helps us continue to develop. Until next time, I'm Susie.